Brain fog. Brain fog is one of the worst things about type 1. All right. Good morning. Um, or I guess it might not be morning when I upload this, but uh, yesterday was a lot of fun. We started working out, got like one warm up set in, and then my blood sugar just tanked. Lowest I clocked was 23. So super not good. Um, Today, I woke up in kind of the same situation as yesterday, where uh, starting around like midnight, my blood sugar runs up, plateaus around like 185. That same thing happened yesterday, except it was 225. And then I took my basal insulin and came down here, worked out, or started working out, and it just plummeted. So, in hopes of mitigating that, I followed everything the same except for before I came down here to work out, I slammed um, probably 30 grams of carbs, just to see if that would help me at all. I really hope it does. I hate lows when you're trying to work out. You can. It sounds bad, but lows while I'm at work don't bother me too much. Um, but when I'm working out, I feel like it's hard to make that time again. So, anyway, hoping this goes better than it did yesterday. Um, Honestly, it's not hard to beat because I haven't been as low as 23 in a long time. So, anyway, we're praying. Today we have a back workout. We've got deadlift on a 5x5, and then single arm dumbbell rows, I think 4x6. And then I'll finish off with some dead hangs. And then if I want to, which I don't know how I feel about all of this, but could do some curls and hypertrophy work. But again, focus is strength. The dead hangs have been an interesting addition to my training. Some of you may know last year started running because of a back injury, which is why I stopped lifting. And it's just right kind of at the middle of my back. I think some muscular imbalances. And then I've just had some trouble back there. So I wanted to take it easy. I haven't really been doing too many like pull down exercises where those are getting really targeted. So instead of including pull up variations in my workouts, I'll throw the bar on the squat rack or outside and just do dead hangs. So I don't know what it is, but they've felt really great actually. They feel like they do a good job of opening up your back and increasing mobility, but you still get feel like the benefits of kind of pull up variation style workouts. So um, if you do have kind of that uh, worry about hurting your back, I would just start off with some kind of dead hang, and you don't have to go. How do I say that? You don't have to just start hanging off a pull-up bar. You can elevate your bar a little bit and then make sure your arms are straight so it's activating in your back, but then use your legs to kind of support you off the ground a little bit and just see how long you can last hanging from the bar. But anyway, I've found decent success with those, so I'm grateful that I'm not having back pain with this new training plan and new workouts. So Anyway, starting with deadlift, I haven't really started taking up the weights yet with deadlifts, but I guess this is the movement other than squat that I really want to make sure form is dialed, technique is dialed, and I'm not causing myself any harm. I know a lot of people, well, for good reason, probably are afraid of deadlifting. But again, I think good form, good technique. You're not trying to PR and look like the hunchback of Notre Dame deadlifting 1,000 pounds. But I do like them for how much of a full body workout it is. You activate your back, posterior chain, legs, core, everything's involved. So I have always been a fan. All right. One thing I wanted to bring up on or during this training session is lows, and it might have something to do with the recent trauma there, because something that I've found so interesting is the difference in how lows feel. So yesterday, for example, woke up 225, came down here, worked out, and like within, must have been 20 minutes, I went from 225 to like 23. And I checked my blood sugar twice. The first one was 28, and then the next one was 23. Like, that is dangerously low. I think about that video, and I should have done a lot of things. I should have notified my wife first and then just slammed sugar immediately without talking. But I wanted to capture it for some reason, and obviously I wasn't thinking clearly. But I think about that that low, and well, hold on, let me get my first set up. I was thinking about that low and just how different like the symptoms are, which is weird because even with the one yesterday, yes, it was bad, but I didn't feel as awful as some of the lows where I just go down to like 40 and I'm really shaky and sweating and absolutely useless as a human being because I can't think clearly, can't do anything. I just sit there and eat. And so that's been a really interesting kind of study. Maybe not study, just observation that lows really can hit different. And I don't know what the correlation there is. I'm sure there's other factors that play into it, but it's been very interesting to watch as you go through certain lows and how you treat those lows, how your body reacts. It's all just kind of nuts, but we live and we learn, right? So anyway, I don't wish lows upon my worst enemy, but all type 1s have them. Totally okay, but it's knowing how to treat them. All right. Feeling good. Um, Beautiful. I'll probably cap these here pretty quick. Let's see. I'm gonna throw another set of 10s on. Um, and I guess another thing that comes up with lows is actually this is brain fog. Brain fog is one of the worst things about type 1. And I know there's lows, there's highs, there's the like there's just a lot. But I think brain fog is seriously one of the worst things about like being a diabetic. I would so much rather. I don't even know what symptom I'd rather choose. I'd rather take my blood sugar manually with lancets than ever have to deal with brain fog. Like I hate the feeling of knowing that there's really nothing you can do immediately. Meaning, if your blood sugar shoots up after a meal because you misdosed or something happens, you're stressed, and all of a sudden your numbers are in the high 200s or 300s, and you can't think straight. Or on the other side of that, if they're low and you're just a zombie, like that is that has got to be my least favorite thing. Just because I feel like you can take away how my body feels, and I know it'll come back because like mentally I'm still there. But if you take away your mind and how you think clearly, like that gets to me a lot. And I hate the feeling of brain fog and that like fuzziness. And there were so many times, actually, I'll hit this set and then I've got a college story. Still feeling good. I'll take it. All right. So college, yeah, where all good stories start. I Man, there was a lot going on in my life at the time, but I remember it was coming up on finals, so the big tests at the end of our semesters or school years always end in big tests, and they're comprehensive normally, and they go over what you learned. And I remember studying so hard, but it was like my mind was just not. It wasn't even that I couldn't retain the information. It was like I couldn't sit down to learn it. And I would just like stare at these papers and I was like, I know I've been able to learn this before, but I look at this problem or I look at this case study or I'm trying to write this essay and I like can't get over that mental barrier that's preventing me from doing anything remotely intellectual. Like it's the weirdest thing, and I don't know if anyone's felt that same way. And please, this is not excusing any, I guess, bad work that I've ever done in college or anywhere else, but that brain fog is real, and honestly, it's sometimes kind of terrifying because it really does strip you of your like mental capacity, and it's just it's the worst. um, and yeah, speaking of things I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, lows and brain fog. But I'm curious if, like, did any of you have brain fog either prior to getting diagnosed that like notified you that something was wrong? Like you knew how your mind worked enough, and then all of a sudden it was like not working. Like, was that a symptom for all of you, or like right now, if you do have type one, or honestly, there's probably a lot of other autoimmune conditions, or even just normal life where brain fog comes up. But let me know if you've ever experienced it and how you either mitigate it or treat it, or ways to avoid it, because I think those are helpful for everyone. Brain fog is an absolute beast. And it's weird because it doesn't sound like, of all the symptoms, that would be a really powerful one, but it absolutely is. So I think it's something that isn't talked about a ton either. Like, we talk about highs and lows of type 1, but we don't go into brain fog too much, which is ironic. All right, 2 of these left. I'm going to check my blood sugar. I think I've just been like nervous all morning. Oh, I'm at 237. I think I started at 203. And again, I drank juice because I'd much rather be normal, in the normal range. But if I had to pick being high or low during a workout, I'd pick being high. I think most people are probably the same. You can't really work out while you're low, but good to know that I haven't dropped yet. Though again, I would not prefer being at 240. That's not ever really where I want to be. But anyway, so let's see. Talked about brain fog. Trying to think of, at least when I was diagnosed, how that played out, and then what I've done since. Because I do think I've been able to mitigate it a lot. I just feel like having stable blood sugars is a big one. And before I bring up something controversial with a low carb diet, I think naturally the body responds like we need insulin to tolerate carbs. And I think for most diabetics, unless you're an absolute beast at pre-bolusing and taking the exact right amount, I think it's very difficult to live with type 1 and have a perfectly flat blood sugar like trend. But while it is normal to have some kind of waves in there, I think that's where some of the brain fog can come from, is those swings. And that's where I've noticed it the most, is like eating a big meal. I do take insulin, but like that initial blood sugar spike still comes. And I think during that top part of the peak, and then as I come back down, I just don't feel mentally as there, which I would assume is pretty natural and normal. But I've been trying to get better at mitigating that big spike and then drop, because if you can just have it level, oh, it's so nice. All right, almost there. So with that, like, variability can lead to brain fog. I did notice, and I've noticed it multiple times. I think I've done low carb or like a keto diet, and again, I know that's triggering for some people. I'm just sharing my experience. And currently, I'm on a carb-based diet, so I'm not diehard keto, but I did keto when I was first diagnosed, and then I reverted back to carb after maybe 18 months. And then after about a year or so, I did it again, probably for another 12 to 18 months. And then I went back to carbs. And then last year, from January to October, November, I was on keto or no carb. And I can honestly say keto is difficult to stick to. You really have to be dialed in. But mental clarity wise, I feel way better. And I can say that with 100% certainty. And maybe I just haven't gotten as good as I want to about nailing doses and carb counting. Because if I did do that perfectly, I could still be on a carb-based diet and have little variation in my blood sugar. There's still going to be lows and highs, I think, that just come naturally. But while I'm on keto and just have perfectly flatlined blood sugar, I really do feel better mentally. And that's something hard for me, because that's a balance I have to justify whenever I'm switching diet or lifestyle. It's kind of, what am I prioritizing, which is tough. All right, last set. Beautiful. All right, let's move to rows. And then I'll probably cut it. Here, let me bring out the makeshift gym. For those who are wondering why I don't deadlift with shoes on, I like the feeling of being able to kind of put force through the ground. I feel like you lose a little bit of that when you wear shoes with a platform or any kind of sole. I just feel like a better, that sounds really weird, but like connection to the ground and being able to exert force off of it when I'm not wearing any shoes. So there's my my thinking on that. I promise I'm not super weird. All right. And I might pick up the weight here a little bit on these. I think this is currently, 50 something pounds. I don't know how much the little bars weigh. Let's bring it up to 70 and see if we can do that. Potentially triggering question, but I would love to know if any of you have ever tried like a keto diet or a low carb diet while living with type 1. I've always just been curious to other people's experience. And I am one to always agree with the fact that some things just work better for some people. I think there are true elements to health that apply to everyone. Diet, exercise, good sleep, but the variability within each of those per the individual is something that I can't argue with. I think some people can get 6.5 hours of sleep, and that's healthy for them. Some people need 8. I think some people, we know it's a fact that some people can still be healthy while eating breads and grains. And for other people, like with celiac, you really can't, and there's workarounds and stuff. But anyway, it's health can be very individualized, and that's something that I never have argued. I think that's an absolute fact. And so I'm curious if anyone's tried a low carb diet to help with their type 1. What have they learned? I mean, what have you seen? What have you noticed and how you feel? I'm just very curious about that. All right, we're on rows. All right. Do you love rows? Anyway, sorry, low carb diet. Curious if any of you have tried it, what you've seen. And then I'm always so curious. I was not on social media until, well, at least on the type 1 side. I was not in the type 1 community on social media until like the beginning of this year. So it's May now, so 5 months. And I've been so surprised by how much commentary there is on everything. And really quick, I want to articulate the type 1 community rocks. Like, there's so many people willing to share information and tips. And if you comment or post that you had a low, like the outreach of people, like, hope you feel better, hope you don't overtreat it, like fun stuff like that. I've been amazed at how supportive the community is. And then on the other side, I'm not really saying it's a bad thing, but there is a lot of commentary on specific things around type 1. One of them being the low carb diet. And maybe there was a swing long ago that happened that talked about low carb is the way you can cure diabetes. And then people got up in arms about it. And now it's like pendulum to the other side, like adjusting. That could definitely be it. And I don't know. But anyway, I think it's interesting that there's a lot of kind of anti low carb as opposed to looking at it as a way that it could potentially be helpful. And that's something that I know I haven't been perfect at, but I'm trying to do is like be open-minded about different approaches. I think everyone has different ways to treat. So never want to knock it until we know it's, or if it is best for them, we don't want to knock it. So anyway. All right, 2 sets left. I've also been surprised at the amount of like content is, actually that makes sense. I was gonna say like the amount of food-based content is surprising to me as well, but I've never really been much of a foodie. My wife is, so she's converted me a little bit, but like I couldn't understand it at first. I was like, I feel like there's so much more to type 1 than just food. But I can also look the other way and say type 1 is almost completely about food in the way that the way it impacts humans the most is when we eat and how we eat. So definitely makes sense. I can see that. But kind of along the lines of the low carb diet and the cultural connotation of that, there's a similar one about food in the way that, I don't know, I think there's other things we can bring up with type 1 that make managing it better. For instance, yes, your diet plays a huge part, but also your hobbies, your exercise, your routines, your mental health and perspective around type 1. And I know a lot of people talk about those things. And so I'll keep pumping more stuff out about that, hopefully. But it's just interesting. It's a very multifaceted disease with a lot of fun nuances. So no, it's not just about food. Food is a huge part. I will admit that, but there's so much more to type 1 than just taking insulin and what you eat for dinner. So anyway. All right, last set. I promise you guys, this is still not normal for me. I think I've been working out in solitude, whether that's at a commercial gym or in my own garage or home, for pretty much every year since I was 16. I don't think I've ever talked this much during workouts ever. So, very interesting. Definitely something to get used to. But I know that there's a lot of people who want to do things with type 1 who might not know how or even if they can. Like I remember last year with the marathon and the ultra, like I knew they were possible with type 1. I'd seen a few people do them and accomplish them very successfully, but I think there's still kind of this barrier to entry of I have a disease that if not managed properly could seriously hurt me, and if I don't do this right, it could be potentially dangerous. And so I think health can be kind of elusive for type 1s in the way that we're always battling our blood sugar, and it seems like anything else on top of that is just added weight. When in reality, if we handle the exercise and handle the nutrition, I feel like type 1 becomes easier to manage, which I've got a lot of thoughts on. But anyway, definitely easier said than done, but I hope people know that you can still do the things you want to do with type 1. Nice. All right. That was it on that. I'll probably pause this. I'm going to finish off with some dead hangs. I'll probably look like an idiot, but I'm okay with that. I normally do. But thank you. Hold on. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope my rants don't cause any contention amongst you. But as always, I'm grateful for type 1. It's made me healthier, ironically. It's made me better at managing my responsibilities and my health. But it's definitely easier said than done. So for all you type 1s, keep going. Take it day by day, one by one, and you can absolutely do the things you want to do with type 1.